To the fourth session, which is on public safety. For this, we have the session. The session shall be chaired by Mr. Ranjan Dwivedi, member, UP Police. I invite Mr. Dwivedi to please join us on the dais. We also have with us the co-chair of the session, Mr. Prakash Kumar, Director, Internet Business Solutions Group, Cisco. Welcome, sir. We have Mr. Sharat Kaviraj, SP, State Crime Records Bureau, Rajasthan. Mr. Kaviraj, please. And we have with us Mr. Purushottam Sharma, ADG, Police Reforms and Community Policing, Bhopal. Mr. Sharma, please. Okay, thank you. Now I hand over this session to Mr. Dwivedi.
Thank you, Marisa. As the prerogative of the chair of this session, I request Mr. Manoj Agarwal to please join the dais. And I'll tell you why I'm doing it, because Andhra Pradesh and Gujarat were the two states which were considered sufficiently advanced in IT that when CCTNS was formed, these two states were told to continue what they were doing and integrate everything later. So please, Manoj, please join us. Well, thank you, Mona Lisa, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I know, it's a really pressing time for lunch, so we'd like to be very brief, and particularly I would like to be very, very brief because, all these people here on the panel are much more distinguished and know much more than me about specific application of IT to public security, but there's just two issues I want to flag, and I would like to respond in the course of the discussion. First is what I mentioned to the Secretary IT, that this whole business of Indian language computing, 7-8% of the population of the country speaks English. Now, unless you can mainstream Indian language computing in IT and develop protocols, interoperability, etc., and which pre-requires that Indian languages should be mainstreamed in official work in the country. You need three basic freedoms for Indians to be free: right to justice, right to good health, and right to equality of opportunity. In India, we don't have that. And I'll try to be very brief. Law is in English. So in olden times, if you wanted to communicate with God, you had to go through the Brahmin. Brahman बताता था कि भगवान क्या है. अभी क्या हुआ है कि वकील बताता है कि आपका कानून क्या है. Now, so, one doesn't need to say more that how far we are from providing justice, really speaking, to the people. Right to good health. Madam Anju Sharma is there. She was Commissioner Health in Gujarat. So I'll compliment her on that, because Gujarat has done a lot on using Indian languages, Gujarati, for health service delivery. But in every other state, health service delivery is essentially in English. Now, you know what the problem is if you have to read a prescription in English. I was in China, and a friend of mine, he fell sick. And the Chinese doctor gave him a prescription in Chinese. So he said, "Isko to kaun khayega yaar? Let me have some paracetamol, ghar jaake treatment karenge." So now, such is a huge challenge that, really speaking, there is no right to free, good, proper health because it's taught in your language. Equality of opportunity, your entire banking, your entire contracting, it's in English. So, purane zamane mein bhai khata tha, you wrote your bhai khata in the language you wanted, and that was it. But today you can't do it. And if people get into perpetual indebtedness because of this, so it's no great wonder. Yes, ma'am. Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm carrying. Yeah. So that is one. That, so unless you can mainstream Indian languages, and these languages are huge, and there's a presentation, Mona Lisa can probably pass it on. I'm not going to get into that. Indian languages are more than, Hindi is about 400 million. Then Bengali is about 80 million. Thai, which is less than 26 million, you had all software in Thai in 1990. And here we have not, the government of India has not leveraged its position in persuading the big software companies to give us software in their various Indian languages, and all, at least 8, 9 of them are bigger then many small languages which they have, and scripting also. Different script, choti si bhasha hai, but they have it in their language. The secretary talked of CDAC. I've been working with CDAC for 10 years now, and they're my brothers because I'm also a government servant, so they are. But I think Google has done much more for Indian language computing than perhaps CDOC has delivered. So, there's a whole range of issues which we have to address before we really talk of integrating and, last mile, last post inclusion and so on. That was one. And the other thing was, a small thing about business process reengineering in policing. The law of the country says that if I report an FIR, the police is duty bound to record and investigate. Now, once you make it available on the net to register an FIR, I can register an FIR against Manmohan Singh. Why doesn't it happen in other countries? In other countries, if you register a fake FIR, there are heavy penalties for it. In India, it's not the case. So unless we have some legal resolution of this problem, free, fair registration through IT would be a bit of a challenge. So with just these introductory remarks, I request the first speaker, Mr. Kaviraj, to please come and talk about the great things he's doing. He's done fantastic work. Over to you. Mr. Kaviraj is SP, State Crime Record Bureau in Rajasthan.
Thank you so much, sir. Distinguished panel and all the people who are right in front of me are waiting their lunch. So I'll be as brief as possible. My idea was that let's speak something about ICT for good policing. Now, when we say good policing, everybody expects the policing to be effective, to ensure that public feels safe, and it brings about what is the ultimate aim of any enforcement agency, that is rule of law. The current situation is that practically nothing in the policing world has been IT enabled, in the sense that whatever silos we have created, they are not really admissible in the court of law, and the proof of evidence which is required by the law, where IT can play a major role, there we sadly lack any kind of initiative. Despite changes in the Evidence Act, we are not producing any videos or photos when we are charge sheeting people. We always leave the room open for a controversy as to what statements were given by whom, because they are all the time being changed, and despite changes in the law, the IT has not been effectively used. I'll now straight away come to CCTNS, which is a major project which is going to be implemented in the country. And for the general information of the audience, I'll just rush through this presentation. The earlier initiatives were something like CCIS and SEPA. SEPA is the current software which is running in the police stations. In Rajasthan, it was implemented in 2 phases. Most of the places have been covered, but it's a standalone application. So present is that the data entry workflow driven, it is standalone. So CCTNS essentially in single, if you understand, it will basically connect police stations across the country. All police stations will be connected to state data center, which in turn will be connected to the national data center. And it will also automate all the registers, all the crime records of the police stations. So which means that we call VCNB, which is the basic crime records of a police station. So the entire country would have one VCNB. So essentially we are talking about integrated crime records when you're talking about CCTNS. I'll just run through the slides. This is the general structure, the key stakeholders. The outcomes is that there will be timely access to information, decision making will be better, integration of police systems, improved law enforcement, governance, etc. This is the overall architecture view. And here we must understand the external interface. I like to point here that this is one area where still huge effort is still required. The CCTNS is only envisaging interfaces with immigration, with passport, with IB, RAW, and transport, telecom sectors, etc., even jails. But as on date, there are no such interfaces. And the situation is that if a standing warrant is issued by a court, that person appears before the court as a witness. In the very court, there is no system to check whether there is a warrant pending against him. So it's a very sad situation, and we have to go. This is the implementation framework. I'll just rush through it. This will be the basic coverage. So there will be a citizen and external facing interface. With CCTNS coming up, as a citizen, you will be able to find out what is the status of your case. As on date, only Andhra is showing it. But with this implementation, not just the status of the case, but various services like verifications, etc. would be made public. There is traffic management, law and order functions, crime prevention, prosecution. So all these functions would be taken care of once this project gets implemented. More than 14,000 police stations and 6,000 higher offices would be connected. As you understand that it is not just a technical project. To convince a policeman to become IT savvy and to make his work transparent is a huge change management exercise also. And that is one of the biggest challenges which we are facing right now. Again, the issue of language which Sir has put up, almost nobody knows how to type in Hindi. So if you want case diaries, etc. to be there on the PC, there is this huge gap of skill also. Now I'll focus whatever we have done in Rajasthan Police and whatever IT initiatives we have taken. Any of you who is carrying an Android phone can search for something called iWatch. iWatch. It's an application which we have just practically uploaded yesterday only. And this application would allow you to give information about crime, to take a snap of your servant or a tenant, take a snap of the document which is required to prove his identity, and send it to the police station with his name, etc. So this is a revolutionary thing which we are trying for the first time. We'll roll it out in Jaipur and Jodhpur commissionates very soon. So you can try for something called iWatch. It will be an application built by BlackBerry, and that's the one thing. The second is that we did a very small thing in terms of web enabling the database for standing warrants, POs and absconders. This is one category where police has done its job, the investigation is complete and they are wanted by law officially. Now, you'll be shocked to know that within Rajasthan itself, these numbers are more than 60,000. And these numbers were climbing, had reached almost 80,000-85,000. And every year we add to these numbers. What we did was that we just made a database of these people. We connected all the police stations and asked them to upload their standing warrants, POs, absconders. And while the residence was inputted into the system, we ensured that the police station where they were wanted and the police station where they lived, they got to communicate with each other. And whole data was put to the public for access. Now this simple thing of, let me just give an example. If somebody is wanted in Ajmer, he is actually presently living in Jaipur. The Jaipur police station would know that this person is wanted in my jurisdiction. And the entire focus of the efficiency of the police drive was that how many people who were wanted within your area have been caught by you. Very simple thing. But I am very happy to announce that after this exercise was done, more than 30,000 standing warrants were disposed of. Large number of arrests were made simply because we believed that if somebody polices his own area, it is much more effective than going outside. So a simple step like that has given us a very historical kind of result. Our web portal has many firsts in the country. You can go down to the beat constable of your area, find out his number. There are CLG members who are the backbone of community policing, more than 1,25,000 of them. You can go to our website and check for their names, their area, their photographs, their mobile numbers. We have other features. You can go and check for the standing warrants. We have also given CDR analysis tool. Sir, we have also given CDR analysis tool to the last mile, the IO itself. So these are many of the first, but I'm again happy to announce that CCTNS project, which we were all very eagerly waiting for, will be launched on 25th December itself this year. So which means that only about 10 days later, there will be a pilot rollout in 2 districts of every state. So we have data centers in that project coming up. So next year, you will see IT use in policing increase tremendously. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very brief, crisp, informative. And you see, it's not the coding, it's not technology, it's the human interface. Now, it's a small thing of just putting the warrants on the web and making it available to everybody. That resulted in the arrest of 30,000 people. So, you know, this is the beauty of the people who are dealing with technology. Now, the next speaker, may I request Mr. Purushottam Sharma, who's ADG, Police Reforms and Community Policing in Bhopal, to please enlighten us beyond what Mr. Kaviraj has already talked of the great things they're doing there in about 7 minutes. Thank you.
Ma'am, here's a presentation. Excuse me, madam. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Distinguished dais. I'll start what Mr. Kaviraj has left. The CCTNS is much talked of, and I'm very, very optimistic. If I really look the revolution which has come in field of IT, then railway really comes on the top. Railway has really changed our life. And second biggest IT revolution is the banking sector. But I am optimistic I can start. The third biggest will be the Indian police in this country. Why I say so? I have been involved with CCTNS. For 6 years, ever since it has started, and we, as a Madhya Pradesh, had got distinction that we were the leading for some time. And then I have been made chairman for specialized solution at the Government of India level, and I'm still holding that. So having said this, that the CCTNS is the most important project which is coming up for the Indian police. One day, the DG NCRB was asking me, Purushottam, you tell me, there's a lot of suspicion about this project. It will have the same fate as the project like like CCIS or CIPA will have? I say it will not, provided the rider were if we have the best of the connectivity. Because if the system really work standalone in isolation, it is of no use. And second is, let my own people, my own police officer feel that it is very, very important for them. It is useful for them. Usefulness means he should feel that there is no duplicacy in his own work, and also we should concentrate on change management. Okay, now this project contains the term which is called as a tracking. Tracking per se is nothing but we have to track criminals in the whole country. Unless we track criminal, we cannot make this system as a useful and effective. The veracity of the system will lie if we really establish a system which will enable or empower the police to track the criminal throughout the country, wherever they are. So how do we track it? For the tracking it, we should have a biometric system. And I did a study on Indian biometric system, which is there in different states. I found out that in totality, we have 22 states which are having FIS. FIS is an automated fingerprint identification system by which you capture a fingerprint and you identify a person, identify a criminal. And 11 more states need to go for FIS. Then I requested DG to please write all the states that they should procure the system so that there has to be interoperability or the handshaking between the different systems. But unfortunately, then we found out that all the systems were having a lot of shortcomings. First of all, my basic fundamental rule as the technocrat is that we have to choose the best technology. The technology is available in abundance, but what technology is useful for you, we have to make. And then you have to standardize the technology. We failed in both the things. We purchased the systems and we felt that there was a casualties. The first casualty was NCRB, where they purchased a system and system did not function. Then Maharashtra, then Madhya Pradesh, then many, many states. Now I visited few states as one of the consultant. I found out that the same system which is being implemented in one of the state, there was no handshaking between two districts as well. Means the data from one district was not even matched or not even taken as a part of interoperability within the own state. So what do we talk about between two states? It was not happening. This has been a very sorry state, and then we suggested to DG NCRB, and the project has been launched, which is called as a NAFIS, National Automated Fingerprint Identification System. I wanted to suggest that you please bring out MBIS, which can have more biometric by having retina or this eye also, because the UID is taking eye scanning. But they found out that yes, it requires a lot of modification to be done in the Act, President's Identification Act, and it will take a long time, so it was taken off. Now I came down to the NAFIS, what has been the system which has been proposed, and how it is going to further strengthen the CCTNS in the country. The NAFIS will be a system which will be implemented at central level, but it will have the connectivity in all the states by having a remote query terminals in all the state headquarters. That means all SCRB headquarters. This will be the architectural diagram. That means we have covered entire country, irrespective of the fact whether they have the system or not. And then we get the data right from the police stations. I'll let you know how the fingerprint data will be coming right from the police station to our repository. And queries can be filed from any station, any state also. And even the two states can share the data. These are all the standards. So what we have done is we have followed the international standard, because the interoperability does not mean that you have to operate between two states. You have to operate or share the data with other countries as well. Maybe you have to share data with Interpol or FBI or whatnot. So we have maintained a very high standard, and we have taken the standard as of now, which are the international standard. So these are all the compliant. These are all proposed servers, application server, database servers. These are all technical issues. Bill of material. The best part is we have given the total database size of nearly 15 million right now, which can be upgraded to 50 million. So this will be the size of database for National Affairs. Now, when I say that the data will flow from police stations, and how this can be done? This can be done by using FED. FED is a fingerprint enrollment devices, which is called as the live scanner also. Under this particular project, all the one device, the scanner, will be provided to each and every police station in this country. And this scanner will be the forensic grade scanner, which will take the fingerprint with the best of the quality, and it will be recorded at a state level, and also seamlessly it will transfer to NAFIS, that means NCRB. This is all project overview. Every police station will have one fingerprint devices and all other accessories. This will be the layout. This is an important thing. Why I say that if you have the best of connectivity, this project is going to be successful, because what we have envisaged in this, that we will have an MPLS, what the connectivity under the SWAN. So each and every police stations, the fingerprint once captured, it will transfer to the state headquarters, and from a state headquarters through MPLS, it will come to the NCRB. And the matching can be done both ways. These are all specifications. We ensured that this is one of the best international standards, so that we get the best of the quality data. These are all certifications. So in totality, in nutshell, I can say that we have ensured the identification of the criminals by having the biometrics, and by this biometrics, by the seamless flow of data, we can track the criminal throughout the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sharma. I mean, I realize that you could present only 10% of what you had, but these are the dynamics of conferences, that many people overflow in time, and we've got to cut back somewhere. And as good police officers, we must take the flag on us. So thank you very much. Now, may I request the next speaker, and Mr. Manoj Agarwal, who is also he's IG, State Crime Record Bureau, which does computerization, and they have done almost everything that any other state has done. So Manoj, in about 7 minutes, if you could please enlighten us, that'll be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I will avoid talking about both the CCTNS and FX system, because in the Gujarat, fortunately, we are been trying to go historically to computerize each and every gambit of the police department, and to our great luck, we have got all the equipments approved, and we are just going to launch the total application, which not only incorporates CCTNS and FX, and it is much more than it is talking about the MIS of police department also, and lot of citizen settling services. In brief, I would like to talk about the historical why Gujarat has gone slightly different from the other state, because when the SIPA was introduced in 2004, fortunately Gujarat was already a connected network with JISWAN. We strongly objected to go with the standalone system in 2004, saying because we are a connected system, why should we take application which is standalone? And we have gone with the concept of Home Department Integrated IT Solution. And we have developed all the application, web-based application, not only about the crime and criminals, about the FIR and investigation. We have gone ahead and compare other ambit of the police department also. There's a big police force where MIS is very important. Each and everything is linked up. We have gone for the e-jail type of, e-prison type of applications also. We have gone for the e-court type of applications also. We are optimizing the manpower what we are having using the IT services. And after 4 to 5 years, when center also accepted that connectivity is an essential tool of any big project to function, they have gone with the CCTNS. Then we have requested the center, since we already have this system in planning and we are going ahead with this system, kindly permit us to go ahead with this system. And in this SDITS, we have incorporated the FX also to be a part of it. So that now as a pilot project, we have been running this project in a district of Gandhinagar as well as Ahmedabad city for FX and connectivity.
Say something about mobile policing. That's
Sir, I will cover to that also. In this thing, what we are adding over and above CCTNS is we are going with the GIS of the areas. We will be coming to the citizens, showing the area what type of crime is taking place in that area. It is for you to choose whether to go in that area or not. We are giving all the services of policing, licensing, application, what type of permissions you want. Everything will be online. You can apply online and get all those applications done. Similarly, we are incorporating the SMS-based alert systems also. In isolation, we have done few of the SMS-based services already in Gujarat. Just like if you are going to buy a second-hand vehicle, you can just send on SMS the registration number or engine number or chassis number, and we will be informing back immediately whether this particular vehicle what you are talking about is a registered lost vehicle in the NCRB database or not. Similarly, for the elderly persons in the societies, we have done a pilot at Himmatnagar where we have linked them with our police stations, where we are trying to ask them, in case they have any difficulty, they have to just SMS one number, and type of difficulty if they are going out of their house, if they are vacating their house, yeah, even if we have permitted, even if they have to do any other services, just like if they have to fill up the electric bill, if they need a help, we are here to help you out, because just to incorporate all these things. Not only these services, we have gone for one more type of services where we are asking the neighborhood, they can use the protection system of their house, and e-alert can come to the police stations. There are very easily available services where the sensors get excited can alert on the SMS. We are permitting the areas locally that SMS can come to the local police station also. Even if you are going out, those police stations, that also pilot we have run at Ahmedabad rural police stations. One more thing, what we are trying to increase the efficiency of the police department. We have incorporating, though we know that our interaction is maximum at the PSO level, we are incorporating to have a camera over the PSO. This we have done it few districts already. The reason is twofold, that the behavior of that PSO, he will be thinking that is in camera, so he will be behaving in a much better way. That is in that aspect we are talking about. Over and above these IT-based services, the SDITS is added up. Partly the case diary is also automatic generated, so that things are better off. Another project what we are doing in a bigger way is CSITMS, where is City Surveillance and Integrated Traffic Management Systems. We are coming up with a cameras which many other cities are going out, but we are integrating it with our SDITS, so that SDITS are base, and over and above that we are growing. I will end up with one example what we did in Gujarat using the technology and have a big national return out of it. There is a Pakistan border in the Kutch district. I was that time border range IG. There's a one stream which comes in India through Pakistan. That name is Harami Nala. Actually, it is known as Nala, but it is about 500 meters wide. only the Pakistani fishermen can come to India and do the fishing and goes out, because that stream initially in India goes to Pakistan, come back to India. Last 55 years we have been saying that we are trying to stop them. Unfortunately, it is in the so barren area, no one can move inside. We later on realized that there was a UAT was there, unarmed vehicle by the air surveillance. We were able to know it once in 15 days. What I did was, with the help of NTRO, we used the Center Remote Sensing Agency and start taking the daily satellite images of that area, and we were pinpointing exactly where the boat is. And then we were requesting the BSF to kindly monitor it. It took 6 to 7 months. Finally, everyone in the nation realized that there's a big problem, because every week the pattern was also very clear. They are coming after Friday and going back on Wednesday. At least 7 to 8 boats per week, and there's a lot of fishing activity was taking place. And for us, it was a big security breach. Finally, in the month of January 2010, BSF put a fixed post there, and later on they put in their boats also inside that. 55 years old problem is solved permanently using the IT because of the what we have used. Thanks a lot. I won't cover more. Thank you.
Manoj, thank you very much. You came to the dais on my special request, and I'm sure the audience will get in touch with you electronically by email and get some more. I surely will. And now, to close the session, my co-chair, Mr. Prakash Kumar, he brings a very healthy mix of government and the private sector. He was in the IAS for some 15, 16 years and took voluntary retirement. Now he is working as Director, Internet Business Solutions Group in Cisco. So, and I request you to please, benefit us with your closing comments in about 3-4 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm as hungry as you people are, so I'll take 5 minutes. It was quite daunting to be amongst 4 IPS officers. Let me give you some statistics to bring home the point why public safety is important. As per an article published in Journal of Law and Economics, the cost of crime to the US, the annual cost, was $1.7 trillion in 1999. And just to give you an idea about that, that's our current GDP, 1.7 trillion. The same amount for Wales and England was 6.5% of the GDP. For South Africa, it was 7.8% of the GDP, and I'm certain it will be much more than that for our country, because I belong to Bihar, and I have seen what crime can do and safety and security situation can do to the economics of that particular state. So, I'm not touching upon the CCTNS and other parts, just 3 aspects. And that is what our police forces, under the able leadership of people like them, that how do we accelerate incident detection? So that's our first response. How do we use technology to accelerate incident detection? The second is, how do I automate response? How quickly I respond to the situation? And third, how do I enable collaboration between people who are on the site and those who are sitting at the district headquarters, like the SP or the IG or the Home Department or CM? So the objectives, then how do I reduce the time between between incident detection and response by empowering the field personnel to make decisions based on available information? And then how do I disseminate information, right information, to the right people in right time? So basically doing this, and how people have started using technology. One is on incident reporting. Today the systems allow you to have pre-recorded messages which can go to the right kind of people based on type of incident, as SMS, as voice recorded message, even as a phone call to your phone, and through social media. So that's the incident reporting. And I was really happy to see what our colleague here talked about, I downloaded that application, and it's fantastic. As a citizen, I can report crime happening wherever I am. The next comes, how do I, after automating the response, the collaboration part, and before that, the detection part. So can we detect the incident before it happens? And cities like London, where they have large number of cameras, and they act like a big deterrent. So what they do, cameras which have inbuilt analytics, because it's not possible to have 5,000 cameras coming, like Mumbai is going to have 5,000 cameras. Are we going to put so many people to watch them? No, we cannot. And also, the response of a person watching a feed, in fact, the attenuation is very, very high. Within few minutes, your attention goes down completely. You cannot, in fact, you cannot detect what's happening there. So it has to be automated. Automation and detection has to be done both the places, command and control center, as well as at the camera itself, so that you can take some action based on the feed from the camera itself, which generates alert to the people in the command and control, or even it could be to the local police station, or even the police chowki. Then, how do you analyze it and bring that video coming from that camera to the attention of the person who is manning the command and control center? So that's another important aspect. And then, how do I provide remote assistance to those who are there in the field, who respond and reach immediately there? Next comes post-incident. Incident has taken place. A bomb blast has taken place in a mall. Now, what all can be done and how technology can be used? I just give you a scenario. Incident has taken place. You have cameras. One camera has reported. Now there are systems where the cameras can talk to each other. The system can move the cameras, other cameras, facing to the point where the incident has taken place. So whether it's a blast or even a gun firing. So you have more number of feed coming to command and control center for the same incident. That's number one, apart from generating SMS, voicemails, and all. Then you are enabling the people on the site who have reached first with the police station, with the superintendent of police, and people above. Now suppose it's a big incident and the chief minister also wants to know what's happening. And then generally they want to know. How do they communicate? As happened in Bombay blast last time, Mr. Chauhan, the chief minister, could not talk to the DGP or the commissioner of police or the home secretary for almost 13 minutes. Entire network was choked. Mobile network was choked. Landline network was choked. Now what do we do? How does he communicate? And finally, in fact, he went to the command and control center in the secretariat. He couldn't talk. What came to use was the walkie-talkie of one of the policemen present there. And that's how he was able to first communicate. So how do we make emergency response systems where they can, on the fly, have a separate channel of communication? In fact, the talk was going on after that incident, that how do they force the telecom service providers to keep certain amount of channels ready for first responders and designated people like those who in police and home department and chief minister and home minister like that. The next is, how do we evacuate people who are there? That's another big headache for the police deployed there. And there, how do you make use of all the television screens which are there to guide people to take them out from there? And the last one comes, can we analyze the past data and the current readings to come up with intelligence where the incident is going to take place? And there are tools like predictive discriminant analysis which help us to do this kind of thing. And some of the police forces in Western country are doing it. So these were some of my thoughts on the spur. I thought I'll tell just two things about the CCTNS which need to be done. One, Mr. Purushottam Sharma brought out very clearly, connectivity to all the police stations, police chowkis, and connectivity which is reliable. And the second one is capacity building. Unless until our people who are going to man, they are trained to take it, trained to make use of it, and they should not have another method that I go back to manual and I'll feed the data later. No, that cannot be done. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I hope you will not curse me any further. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Mr. Prakash. Yeah, first, my deep apologies as chair to my fellow colleagues in the dais that I had to cut them short, but I'm sure the audience has some questions, so please, sir. If
Hello. For resolution of the crime, we see 4 stakeholders. One is the criminal, then the police, then the judiciary, and the jail. Jail and the police, I think one is the same. We talked about CCTNN. In order to have the faster resolution of the crime, probably judiciary is also required to be integrated in the whole setup. So I think that can also bring name to the policing department, that how fast criminal could be executed, and then the whole crime got resolved. So maybe I like to know under CCTNN whether any such provision is there, or what would be our approach to this. Thank you.
Actually, I can talk about my SDITS project. It is incorporating all these aspects of it. I will tell you from the very starting. Once we start the investigation, there are 2 types of people we take a statement. One is a witness, one is a criminal. The name comes in the data bank from that day only. Once we charge sheet it is in our IF form number 5, which is also computerized everywhere in the CCTNS. Once it goes to the court started doing the trial. All the summons and warrants which are going to come, they will be of the same persons who have been investigated by the police. That is available. Immediately we are generating the summons based on those names which are already there. We are not rewriting those names. And third part is accused who are inside the jail, who are outside and the warrant is to be issued. Those things are also existing in the system. All the people who are inside the jail, every 15 days they have to come to the court for the attendance. Those things will be automatic generated, and the police personnel who have to do the Japta party, who have to escort them to the jail, that will be also randomized. So all these things, Gambit is actually it's a one part of the policing. Unless we complete each and every aspect, we are doing our work incomplete. So we are covering each and every aspect of it.
Thank you very much, Manoj. Yeah, any other question? Very briefly, if there is. Well, if there are no questions, let me thank everybody for this patient hearing, and my fellow colleagues in the dais for a very interesting presentation. Thank you very much, and I hope this little deliberation will make us a little safer, all of us, and the country a little safer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, speakers. We have a memento presentation for all our speakers in the session chair. So I request the session chair, Mr. Ranjan Dwivedi, to please present a memento to Mr. Sharad Kaviraj, SP, State Crime Records Bureau, Rajasthan. Mr. Kaviraj, please.
Well done.
Thank you, sir. I also request Mr. Dwivedi to present the memento to Mr. Purushottam Sharma, ADG, PFCP, Bhopal. And to Mr. Prakash Kumar, Director, Internet Business Solutions Group, Cisco. And to Mr. Manoj Agarwal, IPS, Inspector General of Police. Thank you, Mr. Agarwal. I request the co-chair, Mr. Prakash Kumar, to now present the memento to our session chair, Mr. Ranjan Dwivedi, member of UP Police. Thank you all the speakers.